you up until now. And it's amazing to see everybody. I just mentioned to Lori, we had registrants from all over the world, including from the Eastern Hemisphere, from Australia, from London, from a couple other places. I live in Israel. I live in Tzfat. I'm right now in Jerusalem. So if anybody ever comes to Tzfat, please give me a call. And I'm really excited to be a part of this and see everybody. And I'm waiting to learn also.
Great. Okay, so guys, I'll just say it again because some new people have joined us. If you want to keep yourselves muted, except when you have a question or you want to make a comment, that would be great. And we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm actually going to throw you all into the deep end. I don't know how familiar most of you are with blended learning, but we're going to get started right away with one second, let me share with you, with an icebreaker. This afternoon, we're going to be focusing on the Tishrei holidays, but before we get there, we're going to explore a little bit about what is blended learning and how does that tie into enabling us to offer some really incredible classes for our students on the Tishrei holidays.
Lori, is the recording on?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay. For some reason, it isn't on mine. Okay, never mind. Go.
Okay, I was doing it in the cloud. Is that okay, or do you want me to do it different?
No. Great. That's great.
Okay, so we are actually going to do our icebreaker this afternoon, where I'm going to ask each of you to tell us your name, what and where you teach, and what experience you have with blended learning on a great collaborative board called a Padlet. So Lori is now dropping in for you into the chat. You can all click in the chat and you'll see the link that will bring you to this collaborative Padlet. Now, the Padlet has many different versions or different forms. This is only one of them. So here, if your first name starts with an A to an F, you're going to click on this plus sign here where you're going to write in this column your name, what you teach, and what experience you have with blended learning. If your first name starts with a J through a K, you'll click in the second column. You see me and my sample right here in the third column because I fall between L and P, and I wrote my name, and I said that I'm lucky enough to teach for Jets Israel, where I get to share my love of Israel, Judaism, and online creativity with my students. And if you are in Q to U, you'll click here. V to Z, you'll click here. Everyone should be able to get on this Padlet by clicking on the link that Lori shared with you in the chat. If anyone is having a problem getting on the Padlet, please let us know in the chat. Or you can unmute. And you guys can go ahead and begin sharing with us.
Okay, I don't know where the chat is. It's cheating.
Okay. If you look on the bottom of your screen, you will see where it says chat.
Ah, okay.
Click on the chat. You will see the link for the Padlet right there. Okay. Stephanie, do you see the link now? You can unmute yourself and answer. If not, Lori, can you just stick it in one more time in case there was somebody who was not seeing it?
I see the plus, but I'm using a phone because I have computer stuff issues, and I can't seem to write in the Padlet.
You have to click on the Padlet on the link.
Okay.
And then once you click on the link, that will open the Padlet in another window. You're not going to be able to click on it through in the Zoom video. Okay, so you're going to go through by clicking on the link in another window. You're going to be able to get to the Padlet itself. That's going to open in another tab, and then you can click on the plus sign, and then you can add your information.
Okay, but I'm also on the group chat and there's no link, so I don't know where that link is. Nobody seems to be seeing it anywhere.
Okay, the link is in the chat. Lori, do you want to drop it in again?
Yeah, just a minute. I'm
Wait.
sorry.
Okay.
I think you have to, the chat, people have already chatted a couple times and it went down the row. So you have to go back up to the beginning of the chat, but I'm going to put it in right
Just
now.
drop it
again.
in again right now.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
thank you.
Sorry, I had to go find it because I got ready for the next link. Okay?
No,
Does
it
everybody-
gets it privately to me, Lori. It needs to come into
Oh.
everyone.
Oh goodness, that was why.
Okay, everyone sees the Padlet link now? And you should be able to click on that and that will bring you right away to this Padlet. Super. I see Ari is in already, Stephanie's in, Susan's in. Awesome. And you guys see how easily and quickly your students can access this collaborative board. Immediately they can click on and get to work on the task that they're given. Ah, Ari's a neighbor. Samara, I agree with you 100%. Everybody sees what Samara wrote, that there's so much awesome online content that it's criminal. It's a shame not to be working with online blended learning. I see some of you are new to it, but it looks like we have a nice diverse learning community this afternoon, or this of teachers, former principals or current principals, students. And Susan Work, who is an outstanding educator in Caldwell, New Jersey, actually worked with us this year. She's going to speak a little bit later on about the blended learning class that her sixth graders did with us this year. Ah, Sharon is from the UK. Just one of the examples of what you do. Okay, Stephanie, where are you located? You can add to your post by clicking on the three dots up top, and it will give you a pencil tab. Okay, great. So it looks like from this board that we have a bunch of people who have quite a bit of experience with blended learning.
Excuse me, how do I post what I wrote?
How do you post? The way you post what you wrote is when you clicked on the plus sign.
Yes,
So then you see that you start writing.
I
And
wrote.
it will post right away. Judy, it's posted. It's posted beautifully.
Oh, okay,
You see
fine.
yourself here? I am Judy. Right away, whatever your students are writing, it's posted. And you actually, the designer of the collaborative board of the Padlet, can erase things immediately also if you're seeing content that you don't want to have your students looking at.
Thank you.
You are up on the board from Montreal, from England, from Florida, from Israel. We are all over the globe this evening. And it's great to see that we have both people who have quite a bit of experience with blended learning and people for whom this is a little bit new. So for those of you for whom this is a little bit new, and for those of you who have a lot of experience, we're going to take a couple of minutes and just look at why blended learning. So how many of you have heard this from your students? Thanks for that amazing worksheet. Is that a response that a lot of you have heard? Hello? Never, absolutely never. Right, as someone typed into the chat, never. None of our students usually give us a shout out. Thanks for that amazing worksheet. So what other options do we have? If we're moving away from the worksheet, what other options do we have? Okay, we can have class discussions. You guys can feel free to unmute yourselves and jump in, or you could write something in the chat. Class discussions, okay, that's definitely an option instead of worksheets. What other kind of options do we have for learning? Technology, okay, give me an example of technology. Judy, did you want to share?
Oh, I'm sorry. What I was going to say is group work. Have kids work together offline. You give them an assignment, a specific part of a lesson, and you divide it into the class. For example, you could take via Hafta, assign a pasuk to each group and have that group do something and then go online and post the results and share with everyone.
Excellent, so amazing. We have collaborative learning, which we saw a tool for collaborative learning already in the Padlet. We're going to see that again, but group learning, collaborative learning. HB put in, it was not a plant, I promise you. We can use a Google Doc and we can use a hashtag activity, both of which we're going to see in just a little bit in our Tishrei classes, in Rosh Hashanah classes specifically. So we can bring in apps, we can bring in technology, we can bring in collaborative learning into our classrooms, and we could move beyond the worksheet. So we want to give you a little bit of tools in how we do that and how we can get better at doing that. How many of you have seen this famous taxonomy of Bloom's? People have seen this before, yes? Okay, which of Bloom's taxonomy do your students usually enjoy?
Very basic for me. They like just showing that they know, but I'm not satisfied with just keeping it to that. I like to go all the way up there.
Okay, but I would argue with you that if they're really showing what they know, right? It can't just be like knowledge and spit back an answer. They have to be analyzing something or evaluating it or synthesizing it. So you're absolutely right. We're shooting for the top, and it's usually those activities, synthesis, application, those kind of activities, yes, that Susan said also, that our students are really enjoying. So what if we could flip Bloom's taxonomy? And you know what, even more important, even when we're really evaluating what are our students doing, they're creating. What if the basic starting point of our lessons was pushing our students to create? Now, obviously, we need students to learn a certain amount of information. We want them to have a certain amount of knowledge, but they really begin to learn that knowledge when they understand it, they apply it, they analyze it, they evaluate it, but more importantly, when they create or do something with the knowledge. So we're going to say that blended learning really is a beautiful tool to push our students to that creating piece. And we're going to start with that as our jumping off point. Now, usually I just want to share this video with you because it's fantastic. Has anyone heard of Ken Robinson before? Who's my person from the UK? You must have heard of Ken, yes. Yes, I mean, Ken Robinson is a very, very famous and very entertaining and funny British educator, and his TED Talks are brilliant. I encourage you to go online and to watch him, but we're going to take a quick look at what he has to say about creativity in schools today.
Squander them pretty ruthlessly. So I want to talk about education, and I want to talk about creativity. My contention is that creativity now is as important in education as literacy, and we should treat it with the same status. Thank you. That was it, by the way. Thank you very much. So, 15 minutes left. Well, I was born... No, I had a great story recently, I love telling it, of a little girl who was in a drawing lesson. She was 6, and she was at the back drawing, and the teacher said this little girl hardly ever paid attention. And in this drawing lesson, she did. And the teacher was fascinated. She went over to her and she said, "What are you drawing?" And the girl said, "I'm drawing a picture of God." And the teacher said, "But nobody knows what God looks like." And the girl said, "They will in a minute."
So how often are we that teacher who's squashing creativity in our students, or do we become the enabler who really gives our students the opportunity to be creating? So we told you today is really about the Tishrei Trio. We're going to show you some classes, and these classes are available for you to take. You will be given them at the end of, after this webinar. We will send you all the materials for these classes for teaching Tishrei in blended learning classes and enabling your students to really be able to create with the materials. Normally, we watch a slideshow in this kind of a mode, right, in present mode. For the rest of the afternoon, I'm going to show you the slideshow not in present mode, because I want you to be able to see what your teachers would be getting or what you would be getting. We're beginning the Rosh Hashanah class. Your teachers would get these materials, and with each slides come teachers' notes, explaining to your teachers what is the goal of showing this video, where are we going with it. So here in this case, teachers have the option, or you have the option, to explore 2 aspects of Rosh Hashanah. One will be Rosh Hashanah, Tshuva, Tefillah, and Tzedakah, and the second will be the whole issue of the shofar. And you could use one or both of these pieces in presenting Rosh Hashanah to your students. So the first piece, and someone had said this, we can use videos to interact with our students or to move away from worksheets. So our students will want to...
Rosh Hashanah is the start of a new year in the Jewish calendar and a moment to take stock of your soul. Unlike January 1st, it's serious stuff. It's said that on this day, God takes special note of us and our behaviors, writing us into the book of life. It's time for reflection. Where have you missed the mark? How can you grow and improve yourself this year? Where do you need to seek forgiveness? Teshuvah and Tefillah and Tzedakah. Let's break those down. Tshuva, the word for spiritual realignment, comes from a Hebrew root that means return. It gets translated usually as repentance. It's more like remembering who you truly are and striving to return there. Rosh Hashanah is actually a step along in the process of Teshuvah, which starts a month earlier on the 1st of Elul and then kicks into high gear with the high holidays. Rosh Hashanah is 2 days long. It's full of food, prayer, and some creative rituals. Its name means head of the year, and it has a lot of other names too. You'll also hear the Torah stories of Abraham and Sarah, Hagar and Ishmael, and the famous binding of Isaac story. And you'll hear the sounding of the shofar, Tukiya, that's the one little one. Then Shivarim, that's a threefer. And then there's Truah, and that's like a machine gun. And then the long one, Gadola, comes from Gadol, which means big, and it's long. Hearing the cries from a ram's horn is a key mitzvah, or commandment, of Rosh Hashanah. The 100 shofar blasts, there are 3 types, are meant to arouse and to awaken each person. Consider how to do more tzedakah, justice in the world, through community projects, taking a stand on important issues, or giving charity, say after the high holiday appeal to your synagogue. At the new year, we turn the pages of our own life's book, be it tattered, torn, or terrific. Rosh Hashanah is an auspicious moment in time that invites us to wonder, what's the next chapter in my life all about?
Okay, after students watch the video, they'll be directed, which I'm going to ask Lori is going to drop into the chat for you all now, so you can all come onto this Google form, which I'm going to show you in a moment. But students will go to the Google form. Teachers are given the information that the Google form is going to help them review and break down the material that they just learned in the video. And they're going to look at the idea of what are the 3 mitzvot, or commandments, around Rosh Hashanah. And then they're going to explore their family's minhagim, or traditions, that surround the holiday. So everyone can click into this Google form. And you guys are welcome to fill out the Google form. Here, students are asked, what do the words Rosh Hashanah mean? On Rosh Hashanah, it is said that God hopefully inscribes us in this. What are the 3 main mitzvot, or commandments, that we have on Rosh Hashanah? What are the sounds that the shofar makes? What does the word tshuva mean? And then students are asked to share some of their family's minhagim, or traditions, on Rosh Hashanah. And when you fill out the form, you click submit. So everybody should be on the Google form, and you guys can fill this out. And the beauty of the Google form is you get a sense right away as you look at your students' responses. You get a sense right away of what they really understood if it's a factual question. Rosh Hashanah means one thing and one thing only. It doesn't mean a celebration. It means the beginning of the year, or the head of the year. So you get right away a sense of what your students have picked up from the video. And again, it gives you an opportunity to go over with your students that yes, we dip apples in honey and we eat a big meal, but the commandments, or the mitzvot involved in Rosh Hashanah, the big 3 topics are tshuva, tefillah, and tzedakah. And then we want to hear from our students on all the different customs and practices that they have, which really gives us a nice jumping off point for a discussion of what are some of the meaningful. Some people have a Rosh Hashanah Seder, some people go out and they do all kinds of activities together as a family, people invite over their families, right, eat various foods with simanim, the traditional Seder. So it really allows for a nice sharing about the entire holiday of Rosh Hashanah. So the first activity that your students will be involved in will be this Google form. Then students will go on to explore the whole idea and role of the shofar. And teachers are given
Lori, can you hear us? You're frozen here somewhere. maybe until it unfreezes, put the information in the chat.
Yes, Lori, do you see me again? I should be back.
Yeah, you are. You're fine.
Okay, great. So I'm going to share with you this short video where students have the opportunity to, again, specifically hear just the bar and its sound. Okay, and then students are sent to the next activity where they really explore the shofar. Lori, are you dropping into the chat the link, please, for the slideshow? So students are directed to a slideshow where they need to add a slide, write their name, and add pictures and a hashtag of what they think about when they hear the shofar. So what does that look like? You all should have the link to this slideshow. Here, students are given the directions specifically on the slideshow. Great, I see that you guys have come into it. What do the shofar blasts remind you of? Add a slide, and you show your students that you click on the plus sign to add a slide, write your name, and post pictures of things and a hashtag expressing what you think of when you hear the shofar blast. You can choose pictures from the picture gallery here, and you want to see the example slides, but what you want to do to share with us is you want to click on the plus sign, which will allow you to add a slide at the bottom of the slideshow. So here, I gave you a sample, an example of a picture, and that my hashtag was call to action. Students are given here, in case they need to listen again, they're given the sounds. They can press on any of these links where they get the sound. Like, for example, I'm showing you Shvarim, or you can listen to Shvarim.
Lori, I think your screen share and stopped for a minute.
Are we good? Lori, are we good?
No, I don't see your screen share.
You don't see my screen share. You don't.
No, we're looking at you. I think when it froze before, then I think the screen share cut out for a minute.
Okay, just a second. Just a second. I'm not sure why my. One second. I'm having a glitch in my.
Oh, wait a minute. So somebody says that they did see your slides. Not the slides from the link that I put in, but are you seeing the slides that Lori is showing on your screen? Yes. So
Here.
that seems to be everybody. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Great. Okay. So what students have is they have here a slide which allows them to click into hearing the sound of the shofar if they want a reminder of what that sounds like. And they also have a picture gallery where they can choose any of these pictures to put on their slide, because oftentimes we either don't want or we can't enable our students to surf the web to find pictures. Oftentimes schools have locks on the web. So students are given here a bunch of pictures that they can choose from to put on their slides, which you guys can use these pictures, or you can feel free to surf the web and find something else. And if your students have that ability, if they're at home or you can certainly tell them the picture gallery is a guide, but they can find their own pictures as well. So I see some of you have clicked in to add slides. You can go ahead, you can go ahead and add your names, you can add a picture, you can add your hashtag. But this is what your students would have. And again, it's collaborative in so many ways, because your students will see each other's work. They will see how each of them individually interprets the shofar blast, and they can comment on Google Slides on each other's work, and you can comment on their work as well, which really can enable a very rich discussion and how it affects or can potentially affect each of us. So I want to give a minute or two to you guys to create your slides.
Were we supposed to be looking at the link? I click on the link, I see pictures, but otherwise I don't.
If you click on the link to the slideshow, you will come into this slideshow, which you're seeing here. And then you're able to work on the slideshow. Like I see people right now onto your slide once you've created your slide, and you can write your name and you can write your hashtag. Oh, that is a gorgeous picture. So you can take your own pictures, or you can take a picture from my picture gallery. It's up to you. So Rivka took this gorgeous picture. And then you would encourage your students to write, oh, I love this picture. You would encourage, Ari, I love the picture. You would encourage your students as well to write a hashtag expressing why this picture reminds them or brings, what aspect of the shofar this picture expresses for them. Oh, love that, like that wake up.
I don't think,
I'm sorry, Judy?
I don't think I'm seeing what you're seeing. I think I've clicked on the link. I see the pictures you have there, but I'm not seeing the posting or what's happening.
Okay, so you need to, you can look up at the screen, and you don't see it on your screen if you look up at the screen on my screen?
On your, no, I just see you.
You just see me.
Behind me, behind you, there is the link. If I click on it, I have it, but I'm not seeing anyone's work.
Okay, is everybody else seeing everybody's work? Go onto the slideshow, Judy. You'll see everybody's work on the slideshow. If you go onto the slideshow itself, get ready for the Messiah. Oh, interesting. You'll see everybody's work on the slideshow.
I'm not seeing it.
Did you click it? Lori, can you put the link for the slideshow again? Okay, I'm having a glitch in my info.
Okay, I'll try again.
Okay.
Judy, on the slideshow, are you able to scroll down from one slide to the next?
Yes, on the left side.
Okay, so if you do that, you should see everybody's slides. Does anybody else, Susan, are you seeing up on your screen, are you seeing this picture, Get Ready for the Messiah, and you're seeing this?
Yeah, I see everything.
Great, okay.
Yeah, I see everything. I can't find the pictures. That's all. I'm just looking for the pictures.
Or you can choose from one of my pictures. Feel free to choose from one of the pictures.
Yeah, I was just looking and trying to figure out something funny to put. No, I can see everything.
I know you have to create. I know you're
I was just having fun. I was just like trying to figure it out. Anyway, yeah. Okay, I'll mute myself again.
Great. Okay, so we all get the idea. Here, we would really be encouraging our students to create. See what, hearing those blasts of the shofar, listen to them carefully. See what it makes us envision. See what ideas come into our head and put them on paper. And then we can have our students comment on each other's work. We can comment on our students' work. 2 of you can be in 2 different schools, or 4 of you can be in 2 different schools, or 8 of you can be in 8 different schools, and you can be using the same slideshow, and you can all be expanding your students' ideas by sharing your students' ideas. So this piece that I've shared with you guys, I'm gonna push you guys back, or to come off of the slideshow, is how we would look at Rosh Hashanah. So if you only wanted to teach Rosh Hashanah, you would get these materials, you would give them to your teacher, you can use them with your students in your classroom in school. You can have your students be at home and your teacher on a Zoom platform, just like we all are, sharing these materials and learning with your students. Okay, we're moving a little bit beyond Rosh Hashanah. On Rosh Hashanah, we are called to do tshuva. On Yom Kippur, we want to complete the process of tshuva and forgive and be forgiven. And so we ask the teachers to look with the students at the Rambam's ladder, his 4 steps of tshuva. So here, the teacher would be introducing that to the students, and this idea that there's an active piece in doing tshuva, that we have to regret, have some kind of acknowledgement, that we have to stop the action, that we have to actually say it out loud, and we have to resolve not to do it again. So we want our students to begin thinking about this process of what do they think might be difficult in trying to do tshuva. And then, what do we think about this whole idea of apology? So again, if you look in the teacher's notes up on the screen, you see that the teacher will be showing the students this video about how difficult it is to give an apology and to receive an apology. And after watching the video, students will be directed to a collaborative learning board that we're going to look at together to explore the ideas of apology and forgiveness. So I'm going to show you a little bit, the video is a little bit on the long side, it's about 3 minutes. So we're going to just look at the first minute to get a sense.
Love means never having to say you're sorry. The quote may be famous, but we here at Wellcast disagree. The ability to pluck up the courage to sincerely apologize is one of the most important skills you'll learn in life, and it especially becomes handy with the people you love. Of course, apologizing can be terrifying. It's the kind of thing you build up into a huge deal, the kind of thing you lose sleep over and perhaps continue to put it off. We all do. And this week, we took a viewer suggestion from Spilos Bud. We're going to walk you through that difficult, awkward, sweaty moment when you have to take a deep breath and say, I'm sorry. Are you still putting it off? All right, but just remember what William Shakespeare said. Cowards die many times before their death. What old Will means here is putting off an apology is a lot more painful than actually apologizing. Step 1. Assess the situation. Making this apology is going to be like climbing a mountain. You want to survey the terrain and watch out for any big rocks or boulders that are going to be especially hard to get out your game plan and stick to it. We're big fans of scripting out what we're going to say beforehand here at Wellcast. It takes a little bit of the nerves away from actually, doing the thing.
Okay, so this video really takes students through the 4 steps of the Rambam's ideas about tshuva and how they have to go about making an apology, and also talks a little bit about the idea of forgiveness and what does it mean to receive an apology. And once students have watched this, Lori, are you putting in the chat the link for the Padlet? Great, I see that that's there. Your students are going to come onto this Padlet, which is a similar, we're going to see in a little while a Padlet of a very different form, which is a similar format to the Padlet or the collaborative board we worked on in our icebreaker. So here, students are going to be asked to choose a quote, and I'm going to ask you guys to come on and to do this. Choose a quote about apologizing that you most identify with. Write your name and why the quote speaks to you under that quote. So we see here there's a quote, when asked by an offender for forgiveness, one should forgive with a sincere mind and a willing spirit. There's a quote from Mahatma Gandhi, the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. Don't bother apologizing if you are just going to continue doing the same thing you said sorry for. It takes a strong person to say sorry and an even stronger person to forgive. And you'll never know how strong your heart is until you know how to forgive who broke it. So here, I'm going to ask you guys to take a few minutes and explore the whole idea of reflecting on what we've done when we've harmed a person, going through this process of tshuva, on apologizing, and on forgiveness. You can write your name in your post and then post. Again, we click on the plus sign under the column that you want to respond to. Both Stefan and David Neufeld focused in on that thing, which is really the heart, right, of what the Rambam pushes us to think about, which is if you're just going to keep hurting someone or doing the same act over and over again, we're not doing tshuva, and it really does come up all the time. And like Rivka says, focusing in on the difficulty, the process. What do we want our students to do? We want them not just to listen, okay, the Rambam says you have to know what you did and you have to say it and you have to not do it again. We want them to really be putting themselves into that process and thinking about the process, internalizing it, analyzing it, and here, by giving our students a video to watch and asking them to think about these quotes and relate to these quotes and create something about these quotes, we're allowing them to begin to engage in that process. Right. And I love what both Ari and whoever didn't write their name, we're always telling our students, write your names on your quote, on your posts, right? This whole idea of the duality of we think so much about the process of tshuva and our piece in it, but the duality of forgiving and how we also have a role to play and how we respond to others and thinking about how others respond to us. Right. Resilience, for sure, in apology. And a lot of times we think it's such a trite thing. We say to our kids all the time, oh, you did something, apologize. Apologize to me or go apologize to your brother or another student in class or whoever it is. And really giving our students the opportunity to explore this and internalize it and to personally think about Yom Kippur and the time between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur as this real opportunity to be going through this process without them having to just stand on that tshuva ladder. Okay, so we get the idea. Here is what students will be going through to really examine the piece taking Rosh Hashanah through Yom Kippur and Yom Kippur. So moving on. Hopefully, our students at Yom Kippur with a sense of having done some serious thinking about this process of tshuva. We've explored how the shofar calls to us. We've explored our own role and our own piece. And again, we've picked up on a piece of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur in these classes, not covering the entire topic, but a piece that we can give over to our students. Now, boom, 5 days later, the 15th of Tishrei, we celebrate Sukkot. We'll ask our students, Why do we build a sukkah? What do they know about a sukkah? Have they ever been in a sukkah? And then some background on Sukkot. When did the Jews dwell in Sukkot? Sometimes with a picture, or with even just this, we said before, a video can take us away from the worksheet. Sometimes even just the visual of posting a picture takes us away from the worksheet. Instead of having to examine with our students all of the background on Sukkot, we can give them one slide and encourage them to be thinking about, when did the Jews dwell in Sukkot in biblical days? We can touch on the clouds of glory which followed the Israelites. We can touch on the harvest. We can touch on the pilgrimage festivals. And we can get our students into the origins and the mindset of Sukkot. And now we're going to look. Lori, are you dropping in to the chat the next Padlet? Okay, we're going to look at Padlet in a little bit of a different way. Students will be told where the origin of Sukkot comes from. In Vayikra, chapter 23, verse 42, we're told you should live in Sukkot for 7 days. Every citizen of Israel should sit in a sukkah. So we want our students to imagine what would be amazing about being in the sukkah for 7 days and what might be difficult. So here, everybody can click on this Padlet. Now, Padlet has so many different designs and so many different ways of creating a Padlet. Here, you see the format of this board is not in columns. It's more of a chat, like kids have a chat on their phone. Right, sleeping outside would be horrible or amazing. I'm not sure which one that is. And I'll show you a beautiful thing. I think it's amazing. Certainly in Israel and our weather. A beautiful thing about Padlet is you see these 3 dots here? Everybody sees them? If you click on those 3 dots, your students can suddenly draw their answer or they can record their answer. So you can even tell your students, if you don't want to type in your answer, just record your answer. And this format will have your students having a chat-like collaborative interaction. So here we want students to think about. Many of our students have sat in a sukkah, have built Sukkot, and have had that experience. For some of them, they're imagining what that might be like because they really haven't had that experience. Or they've eaten in the sukkah, but they've never, right, so nice eating outside, but what if it's raining? Or they're humid and full of mosquitoes? Or here in Israel, the bees that can come into that. Also in America, if it's very hot, the bees that can come into the sukkah. So we want them to really explore and think about what that experience might be like. And hopefully someone sees stargazing, like Rivka put in here, and they're going to start to think of other things. They're going to jump off of that and think about, oh, they'll wake up in the morning, they might hear the birds, all the things that can go on in being outdoors. Or as you guys are writing, they're vulnerable. There can be mosquitoes. It can be raining, it can be cold, it can be difficult weather, it can be uncomfortable, or it can be amazing to get away from the everyday experiences. So you guys get the sense here that students are going to be exploring that aspect of Sukkot. And if that's how you want to introduce your students to Sukkot and just the idea of why we build Sukkot, where that comes from, and what we do in the sukkah, this can be enough of an activity for Sukkot. But if we want to explore Sukkot a little more in depth, we can look at Sukkot as the idea of Sukkot as the Jewish Thanksgiving. And here you have this quote from the Rashbam, who said that we built Sukkot in order to remember when you were in the desert for 40 years and neither owned land. Remembering all this, you'll have a reason to be grateful to God, to the one who has provided you with all of your present wealth and comfort. You must not fall into the trap of thinking that all the success is due to your own efforts. And teachers are asked to have their students speak about what is the reason that the Rashbam gives for building a sukkah. How does that add this bent of Thanksgiving to Sukkot? Ask students if they're surprised that the pilgrims, the early pilgrims in America, based the holiday of Thanksgiving on the biblical Sukkot. And now we move into our level of creativity. Ask students if and why they think it's important to show gratitude. And how does sitting in a sukkah, leaving our comforts and belongings, and going back to the basics help us to feel gratitude? So where you'll take your students in creating about Sukkot is to this flip grid. There's this very nice quote here about gratitude is a currency which you can review with your students. And Lori is putting into the chat the Flipgrid. And here you have to know that the password for Flipgrid is gratitude with a capital G, which is here in your teacher's notes. And your students are going to come on to this Flipgrid. Here I have to type in my password, which is gratitude with a capital G. Oops, which I did not type in correctly. Okay, I am not sure why we are having a glitch with the Flipgrid. I tell you that the Flipgrid is up and running, and I was on it earlier this afternoon, and it was great. And before I give you this actual slide and this class, I will make sure you have easy access to the Flipgrid. But what Flipgrid is it's an app which allows your students to simply click on a plus sign, and they're able to record themselves. And you get a running list of all of your students' videos you got in. It's not only one person at a time can access, but there's a glitch. I'm having a problem in general, which is not shocking in Efrat at this time of year when the weather is a little bit iffy outside. I'm having a problem with my internet. We get dust on our lines here and it's a little bit iffy. Yes, you do this in class. HB is in and David is in. You should all be able to get in. I should be able to get in. It's my internet. Yes, you do this in class. And you would have a running video of all of your students' recordings. They can attach pictures as well. It's very cool. Now, every app that I have given you this afternoon, from the Google Form to the Google Slide to the Padlet to the Flipgrid, is an app that your students do not need to log into. So they don't need to put in an email. These are all apps that are very, very easy for your students to navigate and for everybody to share with each other. You don't want to write on it. You want to click on the plus sign and then you can record. You click where it says, what am I grateful for? And a plus sign will come up, a tap. And you click on that and then you're able to record. We don't write on Flipgrid. Flipgrid is a recording app. And it's very fun, very easy to use, very easy to navigate. So again, your students would be left exploring the themes of Rosh Hashanah through Sukkot, exploring the idea, really focusing in on what they're called to do on Rosh Hashanah, and this idea of awakening, on the process of tshuva, taking them through Yom Kippur, and on this idea of ending with experience physically in the Sukkah. What does that mean, that physical experience? And then gratitude. So taking us through this kind of cycle of awakening through gratitude, Rosh Hashanah through Sukkot. Now, all of these materials are materials, all of these classes with the teacher's notes and with all of the apps and with all of the slides are materials that we at JETS are very, very happy to share with you. And before I go on and conclude us today and show you some of the things that JETS can offer you and how you can access them, I want to open up to reflections, ideas, responses, questions that you guys have. So you have to unmute yourself.
When you prepared this material, what specific age group in a religious school environment were you targeting?
Okay, So I would say the material itself can be used through 3rd through 7th graders. Again, pieces of material, and it depends on your students and it depends on the class. Even with 2nd graders, I would use some of the materials. Certainly looking at the video on Rosh Hashanah and the Google form on Rosh Hashanah, and it can be done in partners and teams. The Flipgrid, and certainly looking at the Padlet in what it means, what experiences you have, what it would feel like to be in a sukkah. The gratitude idea might be a little more complex, and for some of your older students, the whole idea of apology and where you take that, you can make it more sophisticated for your older students and less sophisticated for your younger students. But definitely a 3rd through 7th grade experience. Anybody else? Any of these materials new for anyone? Did anyone see anything here that they've never seen before?
I haven't seen either the Flipgrid or the Padlet. I thought it was pretty cool. Are they free? Is there a cost for them? How does that work? Or is it depending on how many like passwords you give or links you give out, or how does that go?
No, it doesn't. Padlet you can give out to everyone. Padlet used to be free, and they used to give you, I think it was 125. I'm trying to think when I maxed out. You can still get Padlet for free, but they limit the number of Padlets you can create. So you can, if you're going to use Padlet all the time and you're teaching, I think it's $8.95 a year. It's a very inexpensive Padlet. And Padlet today has so many apps on it, that so many applications on it, that you can be using it in so many different ways. These are just 2 of the many different styles of Padlet that I shared with you tonight. That Padlet is an amazing investment, but you can definitely go online and start accessing Padlet for free. And these links, which I would be sharing with you, they're my links. So meaning it doesn't cost you anything to use them. Flipgrid is free. Flipgrid used to cost. They used to let you make 1 or 2. They got some huge grant and they just became free to everybody. And Google Slides and Google Forms are free. So no, this was really taking you to how to begin to use blended learning in the really simplest and most accessible way. Other things that were new for people, or people enjoyed or liked, or things people maybe that people thought were complicated.
Do you have maybe any other suggestions that could apply more towards high school? Like I'm talking 11th and 12th graders, a little bit more complex.
We absolutely do. And that's what I'm going to share. I'm going to share with you now some of the things that JETS does. But what we were offering for everybody as a freebie for those of you who joined us in the webinar are these particular classes, which are really geared more towards the elementary. But I would tell you that you could certainly be using the Google slideshow and having your older students responding to what they think about and commenting on each other's responses when they hear the shofar. And the same thing with the gratitude piece. Those are definitely pieces that you can raise to the level for 11th and 12th graders. But now I want to share with you who we are at JETS and some of the things. This on a very basic level is what we do. But I want, Lori, can you drop into the chat now? You are our website. So just so you guys can open this up on your computer and keep it there and you can explore it later at your leisure, I gave you the link to our website, which teaches you, we give gazillion apps and how they can be applied, and we show all the many different things that we do at JETS Israel. And amongst those things that we do at JETS Israel is we design, first of all, we teach teachers how to use blended learning, how to create simple classes, how to create much more sophisticated classes in all different topics, whether it's history, whether it's Tanakh, whether it's Israel. We offer a cohort called No Teacher Left Behind, in which we give, it can be 4 sessions or 8 sessions, where you would learn to use these apps and many, many more that are much more sophisticated in enhancing the blended learning and learning that goes on inside of your classrooms. And we do cohorts. So for example, we have just designed now for a school in Manhattan, a whole curriculum of blended learning on Jewish holidays, Jewish heroes, mitzvot, and Tanakh. We can do this for any topic, and we have set classes. So I'm going to ask, actually, Susan, in 1 second, Susan, work to unmute herself for a second. We offer set classes, one course called Remembering and Rebuilding, which is a 12-session class on the Shoah, and we offer set classes on Israel, and we actually partnered this year with Michlelet Herzog, or Herzog College, here in Israel, and we designed a Tanakh, or a Torah curriculum, to be used in Hebrew schools and day schools, which is being piloted in the States today. But Susan, if you want to unmute yourself and you want to talk for a minute about the blended learning course that your school did with JETS this year.
Okay, so just to dial back, about 5 or 6 years ago, actually, we were trained to use the JETS, all the different techniques. There was like, there's about 7 of us who were trained. And I have to be honest with you, it did not happen because we didn't use it. And then fast forward to last year, we've been wanting to do a JETS class for many, many years. It just happened that last year it worked out in our schedule. Lori was the main teacher, and we did the Remembering class for the 6th grade on Sundays from 10 to 11 our time. The kids all had the iPads. We had enough iPads at that point, or their phones, or their own technology to bring in. And we did the program. It was a fabulous success. Partly, I believe that it's not just for the blended material. It has to do with the master educator. I had an evaluation done. I had somebody beside myself go into the class and witness what was going on. She's a social worker, and my goal was to see why is it being successful. And the truth of the matter is, in the States, we often don't have master educators teaching our kids. We have wonderful people and devoted people, but not master educators. And so what came out of the evaluation was that because we don't have the staffing that, quote unquote, we could have, and Israel does, and Lori in particular is a master educator, we were able to accomplish our goals. It is true that there are challenges that happen. The technology piece is a challenge, and the first class is getting the kids and the teacher and there has to be a teacher who's involved in it. It is a challenge. It is a challenge to make sure everything is up and going, and what happens if the internet fails. And we happened today with Lori on this presentation. That is a problem, but it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. And I definitely believe that this is where we should be going for certain levels of our kids. We did it in the 6th grade. God willing, this year we're going to also do it in the 7th grade. It is, for me, it's definitely been a blessing. And it's definitely the kids, the feedback has been outstanding. The kids enjoyed it. They enjoyed using the technology, and it mirrors some of the things that they're doing in public school. The idea of us being prehistoric in our teaching, lamination and Xerox machines and dittos are not what our kids are getting in the public schools. So if we're able to mirror some of the technology that they're receiving in public school in our setting, it's definitely worthwhile. So I'm a high believer that the JETS program is outstanding, and a beyond believer that Lori Feldstein is an outstanding educator. So if you're blessed to have that, then you should go for it. And so again, we at A Good with Israel will be pursuing 2 classes this coming year, hoping that, it'll work in our schedule. And, the kids have their laptops. So, and the other thing just to add is that my ed cabinet struggles with technology in the classroom for 3rd and 4th grade, because some of the kids don't have cell phones, and we're not supposed to assume that a 3rd grader would have a cell phone or a 4th grader has a cell phone. So they did not want it in the 3rd and 4th grade at all. They were happy to experiment in 6th grade, because by that point, the horse is gone. They have their phones, they have their this, they have their that. So that, again, you have to be careful which age bracket you're doing this for, because when you say bring in your technology, some of the kids don't have it yet. So I learned that it is for my institution, for my culture, it is a 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade program. It's not younger. It's just not going to be for a younger group. So that's what I've learned.
Okay, thank you, Susan, and thank you so much for everything that you said. But I will tell you that we have many educators at JETS who are teaching teaching the same curriculum, the Remembering and Rebuilding, and it really is the students engaging with writing. They write journal entries, with posting on collaborative things and responding to each other. It really is that element of a higher level, critical thinking, creative piece that grabs the students and really engages them in learning. And yes, I mean, obviously when we teach the classes, but often we're designing classes that your educators are teaching and they're asynchronous. We're not even in the picture. And it's the engaging with the materials in a different way, in a way similar to the way our students are learning math, science, and all their other subjects in their regular school day that makes it so powerful for them. I will also plug that I am teaching in Amherst, Massachusetts, 2nd through 5th graders, an Israel curriculum. And it is amazing because the older students partner with and help the younger students, and they work on Chromebooks. And it's an amazing way to engage younger students in higher level critical thinking. So there's lots of possibilities. There's lots of possibilities of coming together as a few different schools to work as a cohort and have us create something for you. So if this spoke to you, if this intrigued you, I encourage you, Lori's going to be in touch with you. I encourage you to be in touch with us. We're happy to work with you. In any case, you will all get these materials for teaching the Tishrei holidays in blended learning, which I just want to add one more plug. They don't have to be taught in your school. I often teach classes in a school where my students are all in their own homes. So for a difficult to reach population like 7th through 12th graders who are difficult to get into your buildings, or for students who you don't quite have yet because Rosh Hashanah happened and the school year didn't begin yet, these materials can be taught in a Zoom platform just like we all are today. So I want to end by giving a shout out if anyone has any comments or questions. And if not, I'm going to thank you all for joining us today.
It's great to meet everybody who I have been in contact with by email. I just wanted to say the impetus for this class was we saw a lot of chatter going on. What are we going to do about the Chagim? You know, they start the first, you know, right at the beginning of September. How are we going to teach it? How are we going to, you know, present it? And we thought, wow, you know, we do have some ideas about how you can have your kids even at home and, you know, give them a class or two and make it easy for everybody and still really bring them into the spirit of the Chodesh Tishrei. And I hope that everybody enjoyed it as much as I do. Lori, thank you very much. I always learn so much from you. And I'm looking forward to hearing from more people and being in touch and seeing how this goes. And I'd love to hear if anybody does this with their kids. I'd love to hear feedback, how it went.
Well, I'll see all your feedback. Anybody who takes this and uses it, I will see it. And we'll share that with you as well. We can have cross collaboration going on as well. So thank you, everybody. Good afternoon for you. Good night for us. Good night.
Okay, thank you.
Good night. Take care.